Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's me, Albatross. All right, let's continue through this indictment. Like I said before, it's pretty lengthy, so I doubt I'll be able to get through it all in like a single video. I mean, as you saw, I already have a couple others. This is part 3, and we are on page 14 of the indictment, and it's linked in the description if you want to read it for yourselves. Okay, so, oh yeah, don't contact anybody I mentioned in this video. Please do not. And this is all my opinion and speculation on a publicly available document. Trigger warning. We'll go into details relating to crimes against children and humanity. So, yeah, okay. So, the Hoover Enterprise members also worked together to recruit new victims. Recruitment could occur on social media or in person, and focused on vulnerable minor girls and young women, particularly those who have had financial and or emotional struggles or have run away from home. To recruit sex workers, the enterprise members utilized various methods of manipulation, including false promises of a luxurious lifestyle, intimidation, and actual or threatened violence. Pimps plied their victims with various drugs. I'm assuming they meant to write supplied their victims with various drugs that served different purposes. For example, oxycodone tended to make victims more compliant, lowered their inhibitions, and kept them warm when soliciting dates on cold nights. Stimulants such as amphetamines could make a victim more productive and curb her appetite, allowing the pimp to increase the pimp's profit margins by increasing revenue from sex trafficking while spending less on food and other substance for sex workers. How is supplying them with drugs cheaper than just giving them food? I don't know. Anyways, Hoovers also continually engaged in distributing controlled substances, including but not limited to oxycodone, promethazine with codeine, benzodiazepine, alprazolam, and fentanyl. Hoovers often referred to promethazine with codeine as Tris, shorthand for Tris Pharma Incorporated, which is the pharmaceutical company that manufactured it. And then they often referred to oxycodone pills as Perks or Yerks, which are all shorthand for a Percocet, a brand name for oxycodone pills. Hoovers illegally diverted pharmaceutical drugs by recruiting fake patients to obtain and fill prescriptions for highly sought-after controlled pharmaceuticals. Purchased the drugs from the fake patients, then sold the drugs at a profit. Enterprise members regularly distributed large quantities of drugs to each other and to others. You know, I want to stop there because, like, I don't know what it's like in California, but, like, the places I've been, you have to, like, pretty much be, like, dying of cancer to get those kinds of medicines. So I'm just curious how they were able to obtain them so easily using fake patients. That's confusing to me. Okay. The enterprise maintained a stronghold over certain local businesses that promoted the pattern of crimes committed by the enterprise, including the House of Hotties at 8501 South Figueroa Street, Suite 103 in Los Angeles, which was owned and operated by the Hoovers and Hoovers Associates. House of Hotties was a clothing store that primarily sold sex work outfits. And Hoover's Enterprise members frequently dressed their trafficking victims for work with its offerings. If a Hoover member wanted to purchase clothing outside of business hours, they could contact the store owners or managers to open the store specifically for them. Additionally, the Hoovers also used the store for drug transactions and stashing contraband. Hoover's members guarded the store wearing Hoover colors to deter theft. Shoplifters were assaulted, and the assaults were recorded and posted to social media to deter the theft. Aggrandize I'm not sure what that word means. Not good with the vocabulary, I guess. Okay, aggrandize the Hoovers' name and reputation for toughness and violence and reinforce the Hoovers' territory. Okay, here we go with the Cash App again. We bring up the Cash App again. Okay. Hoovers were known to utilize Cash App and Apple Pay as means of receiving and transferring criminal proceeds. The vanity names on these financial accounts often referenced a Hoovers member's moniker. Hoovers often directed their sex trafficking victims to deposit the proceeds of their sex work into the Hoover member's Cash App account. The Hoover member would then use those proceeds to further promote their criminal activities, such as arranging Uber rides for trafficking victims, procuring hotel rooms for dates, and paying for food or condoms. Sometimes enterprise members directed sex workers to send Cash App payments to a different enterprise member, who then funneled the money to the intended recipient to layer illegal proceeds transactions and to frustrate efforts to trace victims' proceeds to their pimp. Hoover's enterprise members also accepted Cash App payments when they sold drugs. Oh my God. Like I said, no one can be this stupid. They definitely had to have some kind of agreement in place with law enforcement. Like, no one is just this stupid. To support their human trafficking and drug trafficking activities and to maintain control over their claimed territory, the enterprise maintained a ready supply of firearms. Hoover members shared these firearms and stashed them for one another. And members proudly displayed these firearms on social media posts to maintain and promote the enterprise's reputation for violence, to intimidate the general community and the women and girls they sought to traffic, and to deter rival gang members who threatened to encroach on their territory or knock their sex workers. The prolific and publicized possession of firearms allows the Hoovers to maintain exclusive control of its territory for illegal purposes. And some more social media posts, as you can see. Dude, who is the photographer taking these pictures? Because I have to say, if I was the one taking these pictures, I'd be like, can you aim the gun just a little bit to the left, please? They're literally pointing their guns at whoever's taking these pictures. Didn't you guys ever take a gun safety class? Don't you know better than that? Because if you had taken a gun safety class, you would know, one of the first things that they teach you is to treat every gun as if it's loaded, even if it's not. But anywho, yeah, I wouldn't want to be the photographer there. Okay. Hoover's members also engaged in acts of violence against members of the community. Sex workers who acted, quote, out of pocket, that is, if they disobeyed their pimp, and rival gang members in the enterprise's territory. Participation in violent acts increased one's reputation in the enterprise and thus expanded a member's opportunity to profit from illegal activities in the territory. So in other words, the most mean and evil you are, the more territory and profit you get, is what I'm getting from. Additionally, by committing violent acts, Hoovers enhanced the gang's overall reputation for violence, which intimidated citizens and chilled crime reporting. Why would... what? Which intimidated citizens and chilled crime reporting. What are they getting at? What were they threatening, the media? I'm a little confused by that. Which, it would make sense, because you notice that after the indictment, we barely hear any more about it. Which is partially the reason why I wanted to go through this indictment. It's why'd everyone stop talking about it? What's going on? Okay. Many enterprise members identified as rappers and produced rap music and rap videos. These songs and videos often glorified the Hoovers, the pimping lifestyle, narcotic sales, and firearm possession, thereby further elevating the reputation of the enterprise and catalyzing recruitment of trafficking victims. So, okay, that's a screenshot from one of their music videos. And he's doing that Hoover hand signal, I think. They said it's supposed to be an H, but it doesn't really look like an H to me. Of course, I don't know. Maybe it's sign language for H. I don't know the sign language letters anymore. I used to. Okay. Some enterprise members did not claim the Hoovers' name, but participated in and contributed to the enterprise, including by putting in work, which involved criminal activities, including shooting or assaulting enemies of the Hoovers, committing robberies, obtaining firearms, distributing drugs, disciplining, recruiting, or trafficking minors or adults through force, fraud, coercion, or providing enforcement or lookouts at Hoover strongholds. I mean, they were just doing the absolute most. Like, they were pretty much doing everything but, like, murder. Which, who knows, maybe they did that too, but it's not listed. That's, like, the one crime they haven't listed. Okay. Now we get to the purpose of the enterprise. The purpose of the enterprise, including, but we're not limited to, the following. A, enriching the enterprise members through, among other things, recruiting and maintaining juvenile and adult females through force, fraud, or coercion to engage in commercial sex work. Transporting sex workers across state lines to engage in prostituting, distributing illegal narcotics, kidnapping, money laundering, robberies, and conducting other profit-driven illegal activities in Los Angeles and elsewhere. So basically, they're laying it out. They don't just operate in LA. That might be their territory, but they are very much like traveling out of state with these, workers. Okay, and maintaining control over illegal activities occurring in the Hoovers' territory within Los Angeles, including keeping the public at large in fear of the enterprise and in fear of its members and associates through threats of violence and actual violence. I'm going to say it again. I've said it already. Where were the police in all this? You know what I mean? I think it's funny how it's like when all this stuff comes out and whatnot, and when we go and look at the police, what's going on? You guys are supposed to know about all this that's happening. Like, why did it take a federal indictment for this to happen? I know on the news that they tried to claim that it was local and federal law enforcement working together, but why do I feel like that's just simply not true? Maybe I'm just wrong, but I don't know. Something doesn't feel right about this because, something just don't feel quite right. Like they were just so cavalier about all this. Like, they were bragging about it, pushing it in everyone's faces. Like, who else could do that and get away with it? I don't understand. Okay. C, controlling commercial sex work in Hoover's territory, including the Figueroa Corridor, through intimidation, violence against sex workers operating in the corridor without a trafficker in the enterprise, violence against rivals who attempted to sex traffic in the corridor or recruit away sex workers belonging to the enterprise members, and congregation in the Figueroa Corridor to show a strong and consistent Hoover's presence. I just have to say, the more and more I read about this, the more it sounds like, and I've never been to LA, keep in mind, but the more and more it's like it's starting to remind me of like what it looked like in Lima, Peru, like just the criminals on the street and like openly beating people, and like women like looking like they're on drugs, just standing. Like, this is what the vibes I'm getting, and it's just how did it just go on for so long in such a famous city as Los Angeles? Like, and like I said in my last video, like, this is just like less I'm assuming less than a mile away from where all like those movie stars and stuff live. And I mean, I don't know how big Los Angeles is, so I'm sure it's probably more like a couple miles, but it's still so close. Like, so I just don't, God, just, ugh. The world is so fake. You know what I mean? On TV, like what you see on TV, it's all so fake. Okay. ND, preserving, protecting, and expanding the power of the enterprise by broadcasting acts and threats of violence on social media platforms to reach the broader public and elevate the Hoovers' reputation for violence. All right, now we get to the means and methods of the enterprise. The means and methods by which defendants and other enterprise members and associates conducted and participated in the affairs of the Hoover enterprise included the following. Enterprise members attempted to commit, and committed sex trafficking of minors by targeting and recruiting children in the foster care systems, runaways, and children who grew up in and around the Figueroa corridor, where commercial sex was normalized and highly visible, among others. Remember a couple months back when there was this online campaign to like make Allie Carter like look like she was lying about all this? You remember that? It was like even her own that woman who claimed to be her mom. I don't even want to say her name, but that woman, she was on there talking about like how good Allie had it, and she had like 3 or 4 pictures to show of Allie smiling. I don't know. She like tried to like basically act like pretend like she just had this picture perfect home for her and her children, and like there was actually like vloggers like buying into it, like, and I understand no one wants to actually believe this stuff is occurring, but to those people who live around LA, I mean, I've heard so much horrible stuff, like night and day. Like night and day. Like the difference between what they like show you what LA is and what it actually is. It's like night and day. It's like there's like tents, drugs happening through the tents, trafficking. Like it's just, it's gone off the chain. Okay. Anyway, okay. Enterprise members attempted to commit, and committed sex trafficking of minors by providing them with false identification cards to facilitate interstate travel. Oh my God. And to present to law enforcement if they were caught performing commercial sex. Oh my God, that's a big deal. That is a big deal. Okay. So basically, if it can be believed, if it's true, they're basically getting these little girls like fake IDs so that they could travel them across state lines and things like that. That's a huge deal. If they have evidence of that, that's a huge deal. Okay. Enterprise members attempted to commit, and committed trafficking of minors and young adults by projecting a lavish lifestyle, real or illusory, in person and on social media to recruit vulnerable persons and dupe them to believe they too would enjoy that lifestyle if they worked for an enterprise pimp. And as you know, as it appears, we never see any of their sex workers in those photos, do we? They don't seem to be reining in the dough in those nice cars and the nice clothes. In fact, every picture I've seen of these sex workers, they look pretty rough and pretty malnourished. Because this is what's happening. It's slavery. Modern day slavery. Let's just call it what it is. Okay. Enterprise members attempted to commit, and committed sex trafficking through force, fraud, or coercion by utilizing terror and intimidation tactics, such as forming pimp circles. What's that? Where several enterprise members closely encircle... Oh my God. Okay. Where several enterprise members closely encircled a victim, aggressively attempted to make eye contact, and prevented the sex trafficking victim from leaving until she chose one of the pimps by looking at them in the eye. Like, what the fuck? Like, these individuals very much seem like they get off on this. They very much get off on the power and the control and the fear they elicit from others. And it's very dark. It's very oh my God. Like, when you actually like look into the mentality of these cults, gangs, whatever you want to call them, it's very disturbing and unsettling how they normalize this behavior. In fact, like, there needs to be more studies done on this, because it's truly awful. It's like how good people do horrible things. Anyway, let me not get too far off in the weeds here, but that's, yeah. Okay. Enterprise members attempted to commit, and committed sex trafficking through force, fraud, or coercion by kidnapping sex workers who were not controlled by a Hoover enterprise pimp, bringing them back to Hoover territory and forcing them to work for a Hoover enterprise pimp. So they were basically just like, if a woman like had traveled to LA and something, like, let's just say the worst happens and she's stuck in a situation where she decides to do something like this, right? If she just like walks out on Figueroa corridor or something, what they're basically saying is that this gang like basically would just abduct her, kidnap her, and like force her to work for them. Like that's what's happening in Los Angeles, like with these people. It took them 5 years to arrest any of them? Like, what the fuck? Okay. Enterprise members conspired to commit, attempted to commit, and committed through trafficking through force, fraud, and coercion by threatening physical violence or perpetuating physical violence on the victim as a means of discipline, or enlisting another Enterprise member to assault the victim. Okay, and once again, Enterprise members conspired to commit, attempted to commit, and committed sex trafficking through force, fraud, and coercion by posting to social media videos and photographs of their assaults on others to intimidate their victims and ensure their compliance in performing commercial sex for their pimps and the Enterprise's enrichment. Damn, so they were literally like putting this on social media, what they were doing, like, Okay. Okay, Enterprise members conspired to commit, attempted to commit, and committed trafficking through force, fraud, and coercion by pimping their victims at certain Hoover strongholds, such as the Stadium Inn, where they maintain control over their victims with the steady presence of other Hoover members, often wearing Hoover gang colors and attire, and creating an atmosphere of intimidation and an invisible perimeter to prevent the victims from leaving. Enterprise members transported minors and adults across the country to traffic them, including throughout, California, Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, Illinois, Nebraska, Pennsylvania, Florida, and New York, among other states. So, this kind of confirms what I said earlier, that yes, this wasn't exclusive to LA. They had, like, put their tendrils all through the country, like, all over the country. Like, what? Where are their clients? Like, who are their clients they're sending these women to all over the country? Like, who are they? How can they, like, they're obviously some esteemed members of society, if for them to be able to afford all these flights and whatnot. Like, what the is going on? Okay. Enterprise members conspired to commit, attempted to commit, and committed drug trafficking of controlled substances, including oxycodone, promethazine with codeine, benzodiazepine, that one that I can barely say, and fentanyl, providing each other with drugs to sell to third parties and to distribute to sex trafficking victims to gain their compliance and breed addiction, making them more compliant and reliant on their traffickers. Yeah, it's a very tried and true thing in human trafficking, unfortunately. Not just with getting them addicted to drugs so that it's harder for them to get out of the situation, but even like a lot of times they prefer the victims to not speak the language of wherever they are, because then obviously who are they going to ask for help? Like, it's just all these things. It's just that these individuals... it's hard, guys. It's hard reading through all this, because then you like look at like people like Adam No Jumper and Soft White Underbelly and like see like these men, these disgusting rich men enable all of this, and it's just truly gross. I hope that No Jumper and Soft White Underbelly, Mark Laita, I hope they both get investigated. I really do. I really, really do. Mark Laita should have been arrested for Nova, for with all that. Nova's mama should have been arrested for that matter. Like, what the heck? Like, how can a mom actually go on social media, on the internet, admit to doing the stuff that Tanae has admitted doing, and then she just has all of her children all the time, and then you look at in the same area, like that one couple that I talked about before, who had a couple mental health issues, and they, like, every time that she got pregnant, the CPS would come and just snatch her baby away from her. Like, how, like, what twisted freaking universe is it in LA? Someone please explain this to me. It's disgusting. Okay, enterprise members conspired to commit, attempted to commit, committed drug sales to Johns via their sex trafficking victims to extract greater profits from commercial sex dates. Enterprise members directed their sex trafficking victims to remit all commercial sex proceeds to their trafficker via cash or other financial banking applications such as Cash Apps or Apple Pay. Some enterprise members put their Cash App or Apple Pay accounts on their victims' phones and disguised their profile in their victim's name and photograph to make the Johns believe that they were paying the sex worker when in reality the funds were going directly to the pimp. Wow. That is sad when even the Johns have more respect for these prostitutes than the pimps do. Like, why would the John, this is what I'm thinking. If a John's already there having sex with an underage victim, why the hell do they care where the money goes? I'm serious. I'm being dead serious. You're already taking part and partaking in all of this. Why would it matter to you if she gets the money or not? But apparently, you know, Okay, anyways, okay. Enterprise members knowingly conducted financial transactions, including over Cash App, which involved the proceeds of the trafficking, the drugs, and the intent to promote and conceal their criminal activities. Enterprise members committed, attempted to commit, and threatened to commit acts of violence to protect and expand the enterprise's territory in criminal operation, and to intimidate the general public. They often posted videos and photographs of these threats and violence to social media to magnify their effect. And they're literally terrorizing like a whole community. These children here that you see on the screen, these little babies, these children are terrorizing like a whole community. And I really think we all should get past something here. I know that we like most in general, people have like this knee-jerk reaction when people talk to like cops and whatnot, wanting to call them snitches and what. But I disagree, especially like when it concerns children. I don't think there is such a thing as a child snitch. Just like I don't think there is such a thing as a child prostitute. There are child victims. They're victims. And for Adam No Jumper to sit there and question that child, and for her mother to let him question that child on if she was a snitch or not. Yeah, that's just... Ugh. Like, I can't be the only one who felt so disgusted by that. I can't, like, did you all see that? Anyone who watches that, if you don't bother. It's not worth your time. But if you have seen it, that interview where Tanae Nova goes on Adam No Jumper because the Hoovers are insinuating that Nova and Tanae are snitching on them. And Adam No Jumper basically brings them on his podcast, this little girl, this little 15-year-old girl, and she has to sit there and explain how she's not a snitch. Like, when clearly there are these gang members who have not been arrested yet that are online threatening this little girl and her mom. Like, and there Adam No Jumper is feeding into it. No regard for human life, no regard for that child's life. Like, they really, I pray for Nova. I do. I pray for Nova, and I hope that she gets somewhere safe. She gets away from her mom somehow. I mean, whew. Sorry about that. But yeah, I really, I hope so, because she needs to get away from all that. Okay. Beginning no later than in or around February 2021 and continuing through August 7, 2025, in Los Angeles County within the Central District of California and elsewhere, defendants Armstead, Young, Harris, all of them, and others known and unknown to the grand jury, each being employed by and associated with the Hoover enterprise, an enterprise engaged in and the activities of which affected interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly and intentionally conspired to violate Title 18, that is, to conduct and participate directly and indirectly in the conduct of the affairs of the Hoover enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity, as that term is defined in Title 18. Okay, and then they go into the actual acts that they're being charged with. Dealing in controlled substances, robbery, kidnapping, sex trafficking of children by force, fraud, or coercion, transportation of minors for criminal sexual activity, also for adults, racketeering, coercion, money laundering, straw purchasing of firearms. I'm assuming that's like illegal purchase of firearms. I'm not really sure what that term means. Relating to fraud and related connection with identification documents, like the fake IDs and such. Multiple offenses involving the distribution of controlled substances. So yeah, they were like just doing everything. Okay, it was further a part of the conspiracy that each defendant agreed that a conspirator would commit at least 2 acts of racketeering activity in the conduct of the affairs of the enterprise. Okay, and then we'll get into the overt acts in the next video. So yeah, this is like, it's wild, right? But I just want to say, even if like Nova and Tanae were snitching on the Hoovers, which they probably aren't. I mean, like, they've only got like thousands and thousands of victims that could be snitching. So like, I don't even like to use that word. So, you know, it's kind of dumb just to assume that it's them too, simply because they're on YouTube a lot, you know? So, but even if it was them, like, even if it was them, it would probably be the one the one good thing Tanae could do for Nova to keep her safe. Especially, like, if she can't, like, leave. Well, apparently she can, but, like, they're not for whatever reason. And Nova, God, it's just such a toxic, sad situation. This poor little girl. Like, she's got this mom who was so, like, was just a child herself probably when she had her. And now it's almost like they're more like sisters than, like, a mother-daughter. And it's just sad. It's sad to watch because Nova, she needs someone to protect her. She obviously needs someone to protect her, especially right now with all this going on, because they are not above like kidnap. They admitted it on Adam No Jumper. And Soft White Underbelly. They come right out and say it. Yes, we kidnap girls. Yes, we torture these women. Yes, they came out and admitted it. Isn't it odd though that the guy that I'm talking about who admitted all that, he's one of the few that is not listed in the indictment? I find that interesting too. Maybe he's the snitch. Maybe he's the snitch and he's trying to get the Hoovers to pay attention to Nova to cover his own ass. Because why aren't you in the jail cell, Mr. ATM? Why aren't you in the jail cell? You don't even belong in a jail. You belong in a freaking hospital. Like with Thorazine injections. Like, seriously. It's the way you sit there and talk about women and children like that. Like, you do not belong with normal people. That's just all I got to say. I don't say that lightly either, because I'm far from normal, but, like, damn. Okay. So, yes, we left off. Next video, we'll pick up on the overt acts that they're actually being charged with. So, stay tuned.